Hello YouTube and welcome to episode 1 of our brand new series, the Web Dashboard series. So what we're going to be covering in this series, by the end of this you will have a Bootstrap web dashboard for your Discord bot, which we'll also make in this series. So we won't make a bot too fancy, we'll just get it so we get the web dashboard done, and we'll have a REST API. We'll teach you how to use a wolf too. So yeah, we'll be doing this in TypeScript for the back end, the bot, and then for the front end we'll be using React later on in the series. So we'll start off with the back end. So we need to make the base of the bot, so sorry if this episode disappoints you, but this is basically episode 1 of the TypeScript series all over again. We'll start doing more cooler stuff in the next episode. So we're going to begin by creating 2 folders. We're going to create client, which is going to be our front end, and then server, which is going to be our back end. And we're going to be focusing on the server today. We're going to delete the client folder. Then we're going to do npx create react app client, and this will create our client folder for us. And now I have a basic React website set up. So inside our server folder, since we're using TypeScript, we're going to need a tsconfig.json file. And within that, in JSON format, we're going to have compiler options, which will be modules set to common.js. We're going to have target set to ES 2018. We're going to have the output directory set to dist. The lib, which is going to be an array, and we're going to have esNext, esNext.array, esNext async iterable, esNext intel, esNext symbol, and DOM. Then we're going to have our source map set to false. Then we're going to have an inline source map set to true. Inline sources set to true. Incremental true. ES module interdrop true. Experimental decorators true. And then emit decoration metadata true. Then under here we're going to include the source folder and all files within it. That would be what would be compiled, but we don't want to compile our node modules. So our client folder set up now, there's going to be stuff in there, but we'll worry about that in a later episode, so we'll leave that how it is for now.
This is Blazing Fast, a cheap and reliable hosting company. They provide many services to suit your needs, including web hosting, VPS hosting and dedicated servers. They offer a range of VPS servers to suit your bot's needs, starting with 512 MB of RAM up to 16 GB of RAM. You can easily set up your new VPS, and Blazing Fast offers a range of different operating systems. If you're looking for Windows, you will need a 1 GB VPS and above. Perhaps €5 is too much for you. No problem, you can use our code VOLTREX to knock 25% off the price, dropping it to only €3.75 a month. Blazing Fast stand out due to their incredible 980 gigabit per second firewall, preventing all kinds of online attacks. Do not expect your service to go offline anytime soon. And if you're in doubt, just look at all these happy customers.
So we're done in the tsconfig JSON file. Now we're going to want to create another folder within the server folder, which is going to be src for source. And within that, we're going to have a config.ts file. And then here we can do export const token, which is going to be a string. And you want to paste in your bot token. Make sure that you're hiding your bot token at all times. Do not show it to anyone. Otherwise people can log in with your bot and they can do some bad things if they're looking to be malicious. So please do not show anyone your token. Then we want to export a constant which is prefix and is a string, and we'll use comma as our prefix as we usually do. And then we want to export a constant of owners, which is going to be a string array. And that would be an array of user IDs, but we'll worry about that later. If you want, you can put your user ID in and paste it in there, but I won't do mine until later on. Next, what we want to do inside the source folder is create a folder called client, and within that folder we'll create botclient.ts. Now we're going to install some npm modules. So first of all, we want make sure you have Git installed if you're going to be installed in the way I am. So first npm I onecomputer1/discord_cairo, and that's going to install discord_cairo from the master branch on GitHub. That's installed. Now we will do npm I discord.js/discord.js, which is going to install discord.js from the master branch. Whilst that's installing, we can import a Cairo client, command handler, listener handler, which are all classes from discord_cairo. We can import join from path. We want to also do npm I @types/node, and now I've fixed that error. We want to import message from discord.js. We want to import prefix owners from config. Now we want to do declare module discord_cairo, and in there we're going to create an interface called a Cairo client, and then within that we're going to have command handler, which is an instance of a command handler, and then we're going to have a listener handler, which is going to be an instance of a listener handler. Now we want to create a new interface called bot options, and within that we're going to have a token which can be a string, owners which would be a string array, like so. Now we want to actually create our class, so we're going to do export default class bot client extends a Cairo client. We're extending the Cairo client class. Now we're going to have a public config, which is going to be an instance of our bot options, and then we want the public listener handler, which will be an instance of a listener handler. So we'll make a new instance of listener handler, and we'll pass the client through, and then our options would be directory, join directory name, step back a directory into our listeners. And now to ensure this makes more sense to you, we will create that directory now. So we're going to create a directory called listeners right there. Now we're going to do public command handler, which is going to be an instance of a command handler, so we'll create that new instance now, passing through our client. Then in our options we have a directory, and we step back a directory into commands. And now again we're going to create a commands directory within our source folder, so it makes more sense to you. Now within our command handler options we're going to set a prefix like so. Since we've already named it prefix, we don't have to do a colon and do prefix, it already knows. And then we're going to have allow mention, set that to true so we can mention the bot as a prefix. We'll have the default cooldown, which is going to be 60 seconds. So the way 6e4 works is basically, let's say 60,000, that's 1 minute. So it's 6 and then you count the zeros, which is going to be 4. So it's 6e4, like so. Then we're going to ignore permissions if you're one of the bot owners. So that's our command handler options done. Now we're going to create a constructor. So we do public constructor, pass through our config, which is going to be bot options. Then we'll call our super. Owner ID will be config.owners. Then this.config will equal config. Like so, and now we'll initialize our class. And now we want to create a private function, which is going to be asynchronous. Actually, we don't need to make it asynchronous just yet, we'll do that in a later episode. So this is going to return void. So we're going to do this.command handler .use listener handler this.listener handler, and this will tell Discord Cairo to use this instance of the listener handler as the listener handler. Then you got this.listener handler .set emitters. Then we'll have command handler, which would be this.command handler, listener handler, which would be this.listener handler, and then process. And now we want to load all our commands, so use the load all function, and the same with our events, we want to load all those as well. Finally, within this file we're going to create a public function, which this one will be asynchronous. And we're going to name it start, and that will be a promise of a string. So await this.init, and then return this.login this.config.token, and now I'll log into the bot. Now what we want to do is, within our source folder, create a new file called bot.ts, and within that we're going to import token and owners from config. We're going to import bot client from client/bot client. Then we want const client, which is going to be an instance of a bot client, and we're going to create our new bot client now with our token and owners passed through. And then we want to start that client running the start method. So to ensure the bot is working, we're going to create a ready event. So within our listeners folder, create a new folder called client for our client listeners. And then we're going to do ready listener.ts. In here we want to import listener class from Discord Cairo. And then we want to export the default class ready listener, which will extend that listener class. Create our constructor. Then within the super we need the name of the event, the emitter, which is going to be our client emitter, our event name, which is just ready. So it's just like you would do client.onReady and without a framework. And now we want to create a public function called execute. In this case it's going to return void console.log this.client.user.tag is now online and ready. And that will tell you that the bot is online and ready when you start it. Now to make sure the bot has some sort of functionality, let's just create a really quick command, which is going to be the ping command. So we're going to be using categories. So within our commands folder we want a nice public category, and then we can do ping command.ts. From here we can import command from Discord Cairo and import message from discord.js. Export default class ping command, and we'll be extending the command class from Discord Cairo. The super should always be the name of the command, and the aliases should always have the super as the first element within that array. Then we want category, which would be public. Description. Check the latency of the ping to the Discord API. Usage is simply just ping, and then our examples, which is going to be an array, it's just ping. That's the only example you can give there. And now we want a rate limit. They can use it 3 times per minute as per our default cooldown of 60 seconds. So now we can create the public execute function, and within that there will be a message, since it's a command, and it's going to return a promise of a message. Return message.util.send pong this.client.ws.ping milliseconds. Sorry, it's message.channel.send because we haven't enabled the util lifetime or command util or anything. So message.channel.send. Okay, so now we'll want to compile using TSC. So first we need cd into the server folder, then we can run the TSC command. That's compiled, and now we're going to do node dist/bot.js. So as you can see, when compiling, it's created a new dist folder as we stated in our tsconfig.json earlier. And there's a bot.js here, and this is what compiled TypeScript looks like when it's turned into JavaScript. So we'll start the bot now. Videos bot is online and ready. Let's go test the ping command. So here we are in the testing area. So we'll run ping, and as you can see, it responded with pong. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode where things will get more interesting.